Good morning, everybody. My name is Danny Drummond, and I want to thank you for inviting me to your meeting. Most of you do not know me, so I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. I drove a truck from the time I was 18 till I was 35, went into a safety department, worked my way up, and to shorten the story, I was safety director for 10 years for a 500 truck flatbed company. I had the opportunity to move to Dallas, Texas, and become a safety director for design transportation. I was there for 6 years, moved back to Florida to be close to the grandchildren. I also worked for a few years for a large corporation. Anyhow, it kind of put me back to working for another corporation that allows me to go around and speak to people at safety meetings. So anyhow, enough about me. I just really wanted to let you know that I'm not some guy who spent all my life in college. Nothing wrong with college. Spent all my life in college and sat at a desk as a dispatcher. I know what it's like to be the truck driver. I know what it's like to be on that end. I know what it's like to be on the safety end. So let's get to the story. I want to talk today about what happens after the accident. Okay, we don't ever want to talk about accidents. Why? Accidents don't happen to me. They happen to the other guy, right? That's the way it is. But the fact is, every now and then it does happen to us, and you never plan on it. I've never spoke to anybody who said that, well, I got up this morning, I got out of bed and decided, well, today's my day. Today's my day. I'm going to be involved in an accident. Never happens. It catches you by surprise. You don't know what's going to happen, and it doesn't matter. You may have millions of miles under your belt without the first accident. You may be new to the industry. You may just have 3 months solo, but all of a sudden you're driving down the road and all of a sudden something happens. You don't know what. It catches you by surprise, and there's panic. Things are going haywire. There's dust. There's carnage, and all of a sudden we're crashing. And for the sake of this particular example, we get off the side of the road with the truck all banged up. We're off on the shoulder or in the grassy area or something. We look over and we have another vehicle that may have rolled over, and it is still partially in the road. And so for the sake of this particular accident, this example, we're not going to talk about who is at fault, whether it was preventable. We're really just going to be talking about what you need to do after this accident happened. Now, you probably are not experienced at what to do after an accident. Why? Because chances are you are not experienced at having accidents. At least I hope not. Or you probably wouldn't be here with us today if you was. And so, what are we going to do? We have the accident. We're on the side of the road. We're panicking. We don't know what to do. And it doesn't matter how experienced you are. This is probably a first for you. Or a serious accident, at least, is probably a first for you. So you don't know what to do, and your mind's all jumbled. You don't know what to do. Okay, let's talk about the first thing we do. This accident's happened, and for the sake of this first part of the discussion, let's say it's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's dark outside. So you made it off to the side of the road, but this car, it rolled over. It's at least partially in the road. So the accident we just had, we cannot undo it. It's already happened. The middle's already bent. We can't unbend the middle. Injured people, we can't uninjure them. But what we have to do is make sure that we don't have anybody else involved in our crash. We don't want some innocent person to come around the curve. And it's the first thing you need to do is protect the scene. Jump out of that truck, grab a flashlight. Come on, grab a flashlight, get out there and start waving it around. That's probably not good on the camera. Wave it around like that. Stop people, get them to stop, and do something to get their attention. Let me see. You may have a really. Let me see if I can do this. You may have a really cool flashlight that can even do something like that. But anyhow, get everybody to stop. Don't let anybody else get involved in your accident. Now, by now, traffic has probably come around the corner and people are slowing down and it's getting everybody's attention in the back. So there's no more high-speed traffic coming around the corner to hit your vehicle or the other vehicle. What do we need to do now? We want to call 911, right? And chances are other people have already called, but there's something important the other people probably aren't telling them. You need to go up to the other vehicle, and you need to look inside and try to determine a couple things. How many people are in that other vehicle? This is very important. The people at 911 are going to want to know a few things. How many people are in the vehicle? Approximate ages. And by the way, the first thing you need to know is where you're at. Make sure you have a good description of your location. But go up there, check on the other people, render assistance to them if you are qualified and willing to do so. But if nothing else, get an idea who's in there, okay? For the sake of this demonstration, we're going to say we have 3 people in the vehicle. The driver is a middle-aged woman, let's just say 40 to 45, that's a guess. She is banged up, bruised, but she seems like she's alert. There's a child in the back, you're going to guess at 8 to 10 years old, a little boy. He's rather shook up, but he looks okay too, some bruises. On the right side, passenger side, there's a lady that may be the woman's mother. That's just going to be a guess, but she's probably 70 to 75 years old. She's leaning her head back. She has her eyes closed. She's breathing. She seems, at least she's alive. But that's all you can ascertain right now. But that's some good information. So that's what you're going to want to pass along to 911 so they can have an idea of what's coming next. Now, the next thing you need to do is get back to your truck and alert your safety department, your dispatcher, whoever it is that is, your company policy dictates that you contact. So get back to your truck, because another thing you need to be doing while you're calling your dispatcher is to be walking around and looking at your truck. Check it out, because one of the things he's going to want to know too is your truck drivable. How much damage is done to your truck before we can either get it off the road, get it towed, are you going to be able to drive it, things like that. That's part of what they're going to want to know. When you get a hold of your dispatcher, though, they're going to want to know the same stuff. Where are you? The best location they can, because chances are they're going to want to send an insurance adjuster there. I called DMI or custard adjusters to virtually every accident that I couldn't get to myself, which was a lot of them. So let your dispatcher, your safety department, or whoever you're talking to know. They're going to want to know the same things. Where are you? How many people in the other vehicle? Is the condition of the people in the other vehicle, their approximate ages. Okay, you already know that. You told 911 people. Tell the same thing to your dispatcher. Is the other vehicle going to need to be towed? Well, in this case, for sure it is. So now you got back to your truck, and there are a few important things that we need to know. First of all, once again, injuries, how many injuries? We've already gone through that. Where we're at, is it going to need to be towed? The condition of your vehicle. Some certain things will have to happen because we already know, a DOT recordable accident is one to where any vehicle in the accident has to be towed away from the scene. We know at least one of them is going to have to be. Or if any person in the accident is transported by hospital, or to the hospital by ambulance or emergency vehicle. And we have an idea that's going to happen here. So your dispatcher needs to know all this. And chances are he's going to send an adjuster to the scene. So a few more things we want to know. The police are going to get here. And some of the things you want to do is make sure to be ready for the police, have your registration, your insurance. I want to mention another thing, though. When you're talking to people, when you're on the phone, don't be screaming things over the phone that other people can listen to. When you walk up to the other vehicle and you're checking on them, never apologize. Even if it's not your fault, don't catch yourself saying, I'm sorry. You may be sorry that the accident happened, but there will be people back there listening, and if this all goes to some sort of litigation, they're going to be up there as a witness saying, oh yeah, I heard that truck driver apologizing for what he did. I mean, they may not have it accurate, but that's what they're going to say. When you talk to your dispatcher, don't be too optimistic. We want to pretend all this bad stuff didn't happen. We don't want to tell the dispatcher that he's going to have a bad day, that bad things have happened, but we need to be honest with him, let him know what it is. Make sure, we're not telling him, oh yeah, everything's fine, everybody's going to be walking away, and they'll probably drive away from the scene. You've got to be honest and let them know what the situation is. You don't have to be too much of a pessimist either. Give as accurate information as you can. When you're talking to the police, and don't talk to anybody else but your company and the police. An insurance adjuster comes up, as long as it's the one your company sends, of course you're going to want to talk to him. Be careful what you tell the police. Be honest with him. Don't tell him things he doesn't need to know. Don't speculate on anything. Oh yeah, I was driving along and my brakes failed. Okay, that never works. All right, your brakes never just fail at the scene of an accident, and he's not going to buy it. So don't do things that's going to get you in unnecessary trouble or unnecessary scrutiny. So just be honest with the police. Let him know what's going on. Once again, I'm going to guess in a case like this that your company is going to have an insurance adjuster dispatched to the scene, unless it's close enough to where your own safety people can go, take photos, and get the information. All right, something we need to know. Are you going to get a citation? If you get cited for the accident, we've already decided it was a DOT accident. Somebody's going to be towed from the scene. Somebody is going to be transported by ambulance, one, the other, or both. That makes it a DOT recordable accident. That, or of course, a fatality, but we're going to forget that right now. So, if it's a DOT recordable accident and you've been cited, then the FMCSA mandates that you are given a post-accident drug and alcohol screen. Now, the DOT says that you have to have that, or let's change that. They want that alcohol screen done within 2 hours of the time of the accident. I'll tell you what, that's very difficult. A lot of times, 2 hours from the time, a lot of times the police don't even get there until the accident's an hour old. And a lot of times they don't release you from the scene for 2 or 3 hours. But you need to try to get away as quickly as you can and get this done. So they want it done within 2 hours. If you can't get it done within 2 hours, then your company has to have something filled out and explain why they can't get it done in 2 hours. The accident happened at 4:03 a.m. My driver wasn't released from the scene by the police until 6:32 a.m. It has to be something documented like that. Now, if you can't get it done within 2 hours of the scene, they say it has to be done 2 hours of the time of the accident. They say it has to be done within 8 hours of the time of the accident, or they have to stop trying. Now, if your company wants to do a non-DOT breath alcohol test, that's fine. But for the DOT, it has to be done within 8 hours of the time of the accident, or you have to stop trying. And that better be documented, because that right there will have your company in a lot of hot water in the time of an audit if they cannot prove that it's mandatory. Now, sometimes it's amazing how many times accidents don't happen until 5 in the evening. You get released from the scene at 8 o'clock in the evening, and I've experienced this before. So you're sitting there trying, it's got to have the DOT breath alcohol test done, drug and alcohol test. Great thing is the drug test, you have 32 hours to get that done. It's a whole lot easier. Breath alcohol test has to be done, should be done within 2, must be done within 8. So you have your accident at 5. They don't release you till 7 or 8 o'clock. Most of these places, clinics that do breath alcohol tests are closed by then. They do regular working hours. They close at 5. Most hospitals do not do breath alcohol tests. and they might do a blood test, but the DOT does not recognize a blood test for post-accident. So let's talk for just a second to the dispatchers or the safety people in here. When that accident happens, again, you need to be recording the best you can the exact time of the accident, what time your driver was released by the police, and chances are, a good thing about having an insurance adjuster there, if your truck cannot be driven or it's being towed, you can get that insurance adjuster to take you to the clinic when and if you find one. So if you cannot find one, you better document that. Okay, I tried calling this clinic. They're closed. This clinic's closed. This clinic, they're open, but their breath alcohol technician is not available. I called a mobile unit and to get to the scene. And I'll tell you what, those mobile units are very expensive. So you put down, I called a mobile unit, but they said they're going to charge $650 to go do the drug and alcohol test. That's too expensive. Well, that's the wrong answer. So if it's going to cost you $650 to get a mobile unit there and they can get there on time, I certainly recommend you get it done. It's going to be money well spent. Okay, but let's say all of a sudden you call that mobile unit and they say, well, our breath alcohol machine is out of order. So you have called everybody that can possibly get this done. The only other place now is 7 hours away, and if they got to the scene, it would be past that 8-hour limit. So you have all that documented, you've done everything you can, and in an audit you should be pretty much in the clear. So it's important to make sure and get that done, and drivers, it's so important that you do everything you can to help facilitate that. I know one time I got the call, in fact I didn't even get the call from the driver, he was an owner-operator. I got the call from a broker and said, do you know you're about the truck rolling over last night? I said, no, I haven't heard anything about it. Well, he said, yeah, the driver, he went over and got a hotel room. So I called the driver. Yeah, it's 8:30 in the morning. Yeah, I didn't want to bother anybody. You know, the truck's on its side, and the police said, well, we're just going to guard the scene. We'll have it towed, picked up and towed tomorrow. He gave me a ride to the hotel. I didn't want to bother anybody. Well, the accident happened at midnight. I'm not finding about it until 8:30, and so we can't get that breath alcohol test done, obviously, on time. And no matter how innocent the driver may have thought he was, that was his last, you know, he lost his lease with the company, because that is a big problem. If there's anything that makes it look like you are intentionally delaying a drug or alcohol test, it's going to go against you. So do everything you can to help facilitate it, make life easier on the company. One last thing I'm going to talk about, and it's not very popular, the event recorder cameras. Okay, I'm a big supporter, a big fan of the event recorder cameras, especially the one that also points back at the drivers. The 10 years I was safety director, we used Lytx Drive Cam, and I mean, there are a lot of good brands. There's Lytx and Samsara, a bunch of other ones. It doesn't matter, but they're the ones I was the most familiar with. When I went to Design Transportation in Dallas, they didn't have cameras at the time. They were a 200 trucking company, and I talked them into bringing them in, and everybody was afraid that drivers would quit. The 6 years I was there, I never had a driver quit. I did have one walk into orientation and turn around and walk back out, said, I'm not going to have a camera pointed at me. Nowadays, it's real common. Just about any reputable company is going to do this. And most of them see the need, the benefit in having the cameras pointing back at the driver. But let's talk about nothing else about the driver-facing camera than this. The forward-facing camera. Now let's just go ahead and see that whatever you did, that the other people pulled out in front of you, looked out in front of you and slammed on the brakes or whatever it is. The other people cut you off or whatever. So it's easy to see that what they did was their fault. All right. So let's talk about the difference between fault and preventable. There are so many times I've seen these videos, and it's obviously it's the other guy's fault. But why was our driver not able to prevent it? And no matter what the driver might say or think he was doing, he might think he was 100% alert. And even if you are 100% alert, even if you were doing everything perfectly, it's going to be so much better if that driver-facing camera is pointing at you. And not only can we show that the other people were at fault, but to show that there was nothing that you could have done to prevent that accident. And I'm going to say 9 out of 10 or more of you drivers are professional drivers. You do everything right, and you may not be perfect, but if you 9 out of 10 drivers, if there's a crash out there, it's going to show. It's going to exonerate you. And the other 1 out of 10. My position is that we need to go ahead and find out about your bad driving habits and correct them before the crash, before the big one. And if we can correct those bad driving habits, well, maybe we can prevent the accident altogether. If nothing else, when that guy does whoop out in front of you, well, then you're going to be the one that's alert. And you're going to avoid the accident. We won't have an accident at all. Or if we do, we've got it right there on film that whatever you've done was fine. I had the incident one time to where, we just had a forward-facing camera. And this is with another company that I was just a safety manager for. And it plainly showed that the other people, our drivers going down the road, 2-lane, but somebody pulled out of the parking lot. And they pull out and go in that way, of course, we're at highway speed, and this guy pulls out, he's going about 15 miles an hour right up there. Maybe he gets up to 35. Plainly, it's his fault. But the plaintiff's attorney, and believe me, plaintiff attorneys aren't nice. They're not going to be nice to you or anybody else. They're only after their client and the money. So the plaintiff's attorney looks and he said, well, it is plain to see that my client pulled out in front of your truck, but it was 2 full seconds before your driver hit the brakes. I want to know what he was doing. I'm going to subpoena the cell phone records. I want everything I can find out about that driver. I want to look every minute of his e-logs back for 6 months. And what could have been a slam dunk, it's all the other guy's fault and completely exonerates you. It can also turn now into a he said, she said, and if nothing else, even if you don't lose big time, somehow we're going to go into a mediation, and we might not lose $2 million, but we're going to wind up giving them $50,000. So anyway, I appreciate your time. Drive safely. I appreciate the safe professional driver that you are. And just remember, hopefully we never have an accident. And but if you do, I hope you keep these things in mind. Let's make things better for the welfare of you and for the company. Be safe. Have a good day. See you next time.